When we think of skin tones, we usually think about yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and burnt umber colors. But all these colors are actually made up of these three. Ta-ta! Yellow, red, and blue. Yes, the main colors. And in this video, I will show you how you can mix these in order to get the most common skin tones. Here is my lemon yellow. Let's squeeze in a little bit of crimson red. And I want to use today deep cyan blue. And of course, I'm going to add a little bit of black and white. A lot of white, actually. So let's start with yellow ochre. In order to get yellow ochre, basically you need to add three colors. A lot of yellow, a little bit of red, and tiny bit of blue. Not more, just this much. Yes, if you mix all these, you're gonna get yellow ochre. And burnt sienna, let's talk about burnt sienna. Burnt sienna, as you can see, has a lot of red in it. And you can add a little bit of yellow as well. And again, tiny bit of blue. If you don't add this blue, then it's going to look orange. And now we have burnt umber. In order to get burnt umber, you can add again red, but this time you need some blue in that and tiny bit of yellow. Now, I want to show you how you can change this yellow ochre into a more kind of suitable color for portraits. I added a little bit of yellow to my yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and also white. I'm adding more red, more burnt sienna to it, so that it's going to have a more of an earthy tone. Well, we are talking about yellow undertones first, and for the yellow undertones, I need more yellow in it, so I added more yellow. And in order to balance it out, I'm going to add just a tiny bit of blue, because otherwise its chroma will be really high, and we don't want that much of a high of a saturation. I'm adding just a little bit of more white, and I'm going to add this yellow ochre color now. So this is a beautiful yellow undertone that we can use for our portraits. And now when I add more white to it, you will see that it decreases the saturation but also increases the value, so I have a lighter color. And it is good for us to lower the saturation, because low saturation means more realistic in terms of portrait colors. I'm adding even more white. I want to see where I'm gonna get by adding more and more white to this. I can even add more, actually. It's almost the same color as the other one, so yeah, this looks much better. Let's see. And one thing about acrylic is like you need to move quickly, more quickly than oil painting when you're mixing your colors. And now for the final one, I'm adding a lot of white. And see this beautiful cream color right here. Now for the darker tones, I want to add again burnt sienna and yellow ochre, but you can also have this mix with again red, yellow, and blue. Now I'm going to add tiny bit of black. This much of black. But again, even it was just a tiny bit of amount, you can see how it ruined all my color mixture. So you need to be careful about adding blue and black, because they can affect your mixture quite a lot. I'm adding yellow and red, trying to build my color again, my yellow ochre again. But see, I realized black has some blue undertones. That's why it cooled it down. And in order to warm it up, I needed to add more red and yellow in it. And you can see that it's a beautiful dark brown with yellow undertones. Now I want to get even darker, so I'm adding black, adding more yellow, because again, it was cooling it down. And I wanted my color warmer than that, so I'm adding a little bit more red and yellow and more black. just a little bit of more yellow, and I think I'm good to go. I think it looks good. Just tiny bit of red, honestly. If you add more red by mistake, then it's gonna turn into more red undertones, which I don't want to. I want yellow undertones. So I'm being careful about how much red I add. And this is a beautiful sepia color. I don't know if you can see from the camera's resolution or color, but it is actually a beautiful, beautiful dark brown. Okay, so let's talk about red undertones. For red undertones, I'm gonna have more red and of course yellow, but I'm going to add again a tiny bit of blue. So I'm mixing all this very high chroma colors, and I'm adding just a tiny bit of blue, and I'm gonna add some white. It's like a beautiful burgundy color right now I need to a little bit warm it up, and this is why I'm adding some lemon yellow, and I'm going to add even more white to this to lower its chroma. I think I'm getting where I want to be, just a little bit more yellow, and I'm going to add just a little bit more red, because I think in my mind with red undertones, this is the most common color that I see. It's like a beautiful red undertone right here. Now adding white will give me a lighter skin tone. It's like a pinkish undertone here. But I think this has more blue in it than yellow. Again, this is a red undertone, but it has more blue in it. It's a cooler color. What happens if we warm it up? Let's add some yellow. Mix, mix, mix. Nice. My voice. Nice. Adding some more white. Yeah, it has this now beautiful peachy color, which I really like. I'm adding more white. And see, this is warmer than what we just did the last time. Still red undertone though. Still, it has a lot of red in it. Adding more white will end up having a lighter color with low saturation, as you can see. So you can keep going like this if you want to. Warmer and cooler. As you can see, by adding more blue or yellow, you can change the coolness or warmth of your color. Now, burnt sienna and yellow ochre, because we have yellow in burnt sienna, right? But I want to add more red and blue, of course, because I need brown, I don't need orange. And I'm creating my own burnt sienna, which is more suitable for portraits, because what I have in my set is not very realistic in terms of portrait. It's very high in chroma, so I'm just trying to get my own burnt sienna color. I ended up adding too much red, so I'm trying to balance it out with more blue. I need more yellow. Okay, I think this is pretty. I think this is the most common burnt sienna I see in portraits. It's darker than what I have in the set, but it's more realistic. So if I add more red and add more yellow, because I'm going to add more black and I'm getting prepared for it, because I know that black will cool it down. But before that, I want to show you the difference. This is like in between. It's lighter color than the left one, but it's higher in chroma than the right one that I had. Again, I added too much black. Surprise, surprise. So I keep adding more red and yellow to it, and I get this beautiful, very dark, kind of burgundy color. It's like burnt sienna shade, but it's very, very dark. And this is the burnt sienna that I have in the set. It's raw form, and you can see that it's not very usable in realistic portraits, at least. So this is the red undertones. For the blue undertones, let me put the burnt umber that I have here. It's pretty warm. As you can see, it has more red to it than blue. So I'm going to add blue to this burnt umber to see what happens when I cool it down. Okay, you can see it has more kind of green undertones now, almost raw umberish. So umber is there basically. What happens is the blue mixes with that yellow and gives this greenish hue. This is technically raw umber, guys. When we added white to this, we got raw umber shade. And if I add more white, I'm going to get the tint of raw umber. Adding more white. Here we go. It's almost like a hockey color. It's a very cold skin tone. Let's add more white. I like this. I like playing with the colors, guys. So for highlights too, you can definitely use this color. It's not supposed to be only just the skin tone, but it can be also the highlight, let's say on the nose or on the forehead. And this is the lightest I get. So this is the burnt umber, right? As itself, without adding anything. Share in the comments, guys, if you can use these colors the way they are in their raw form, or you would also mix them with some red or blue or yellow to make them look more realistic in your portraits. So as a summary, so I have this cool light shade that I created just now. And if I want to get more red undertones, what I do is mixing yellow and red and also some white. And then, because it looks really bright right now, to lower it down, I add some blue, because the complementary color of orange is blue. It's going to neutralize it. But just tiny bit, guys. You saw what I've been through. You know that adding too much blue is gonna ruin it, so don't do that. Adding more white, and then you're gonna have this pink color. It's a red undertone light color. If you add more white to it, then you're going to get a less saturated, a higher value skin tone right here. And even more white will make it lighter, of course. But then you can add some yellow if you want to give more warmth to this color. And you're gonna have this skin tone in the end. Let me get it closer to you guys so you can see it better. And for the yellow undertones, what we do basically is to add more yellow. Okay, we have some red, okay, we have some blue, some white, but we have mostly yellow, just like I'm preparing right now. And then when you add a lot of white, it's still too bright, right? It's not very realistic. So I'm going to tune it down by adding just a little bit of blue. Here we go. And this is the yellow undertone light skin tones. Okay. You can add more red to it and it's going to give it a different color. Or you can add blue, but then if you add too much like I just did, which I kept warning you guys, then you're gonna have a rainbow. You don't want to have a rainbow on your palette. You want to have a skin tone. I didn't edit this out, guys, on purpose, so to show you how it happens to everyone. Okay, we don't have to be perfect. And now you can see that I have this yellow undertone with a little bit of more blue in it, so it's cooler. You can see that, right? So yellow, red, and blue undertones. Let's talk about darker tones. So I have the burnt umber, I mix with blue. Again, our powerful blue takes over. And I add just a tiny bit of white And you can see this is a beautiful blue undertoned dark brown. If I add more white to it, you can have this raw umber color. You can keep adding white and then you're gonna get more raw umber tint instead of raw umber shade. You can add some red, you know? And when you add red and yellow a little bit, you're gonna have this beautiful shade of brown, even more yellow maybe to make it warmer. And see, it's much warmer than what I did last time. So I'm putting them right next to each other so you can see them better. Adding more white and more yellow, it's just going to warm it up. Now let's add some red. Now we have more red undertones. Let's add more white to this. See, this is a lower chroma shadow color, or you can have as basic skin tone. If you add a lot of white to this, then what you get to is a cooler shade of brown. But you can warm it up. You can add some red, you can add some yellow to have them in different colors. Whatever the skin is reflecting, and it's going to change its colors. Look, this is also a beautiful color that we add that has blue undertones. But we added more blue. See, this is not a realistic portrait color, so I'm adding white, but also I'm gonna add some red to neutralize it. Now it looks like what we can use in our portraits. See, by playing, guys, they say playing by ear, it's like playing by hand. You're gonna see you can have different shades of skin tones by adding more blue, more yellow, or more red to your mixture. Just you have to keep trying and try to find best fits for your portraits. So these are the yellow undertones we ended up with, and we have red undertones right here with different hues. So I have a cooler one and the warmer one, more red and more blue one right here. Also the blue undertones you can see from darkest to lightest. Don't forget, they're all made up of the same three colors: red, blue, and yellow. That's that easy, guys. You can create any skin tone by just basically mixing different proportions of these three primary colors. If you want to strengthen your color knowledge, then I think this video will help you a lot. So the next video that you should watch, I think, is this video.